All right, I'm just trying to find where you went. There you are. Here we go. No worries. We're recording?
Hi, Simon. Thanks so much for joining us, mate. We've got there in the end with this video. Mate, we wanted to have you do a little video. February 15th, quite an exciting event coming up, our footwear masterclass, athletic footwear masterclass.
Thanks, mate. I'm pumped to be here, mate, talking about this. I mean, this little masterclass we've taken all over the world. So it started off in Ghent, in Belgium, and then it went to France, and then it came to Australia. It's going to go across to New Zealand next year. And, of course, the most important of all is it's going to be in Brisbane on the 15th of November, and I am really looking forward to getting up to Brisbane to see a few of my old mates up there who complained bitterly that in the last round of Aussie masterclasses it didn't go to Brisbane. So we're coming to get you, and it should be a fantastic day.
That's exactly it, mate. For the first time ever to Brisbane, everyone I've spoken to has just raved about it so highly. Everyone who's been to the courses in other cities. So I must admit, I'm so excited to be a part of this. You know, yourself, Josh from Ultimate Podiatrist, and the Bridge the Gap boys, mate. What could possibly go wrong?
Absolutely nothing. With that, that's a dream team. It's a dream team. No, it should be a great day. I mean, we're really going to be talking about some stuff related to athletic footwear at a very high level, and I think if you're really interested in upskilling your knowledge of athletic footwear across the board, then what we've learned, this is really offering something pretty special. So I think people who come along will have a brilliant day of CPD, and you really will be learning stuff you can apply to your next patient who asks you what shoe they should be wearing.
Yeah, I mean, mate, all the feedback that I've ever had has been fantastic. But give us the rundown. What are we going to be doing in this course?
Well, it's pretty intense, really. I mean, we actually start off with a little bit of history. So we start off talking about the very first shoes that were found in, perfectly preserved, mind you, in a cave in Armenia, and then we run through the potted history of athletic footwear and where it's come from, and that only takes about 40 minutes, but it's actually pretty interesting, and a lot of people find out stuff that they had no idea about it, particularly relating to the big brands like Nike, Brooks, Adidas, Asics. So a lot of info about how those brands got to be where they are and their roots and origins, and it's actually pretty interesting. And then we're going to take you through a whole lot of stuff. So in particular, looking at some of the the big biomechanics and orthopedic considerations of footwear. We don't just cover running. We look at all sorts of different categories. So we look at netball, basketball, cycling, the football codes. So quite a bit of different stuff there. And then we spend a fair bit of time on futurism. So obviously this is a hot topic at the moment about what's going on with footwear. Where is it taking us? And we've got this sort of footwear arms race going on at the moment, and nobody quite knows where it's all going to end up. But it's very important because a lot of the stuff in relation to the big sustainable trends like the environment and things like 3D printing and what is possible are going to have a very big impact on podiatrists and physios who are recommending footwear. And basically one of my big goals with this masterclass is to equip people to be first in line basically for the opportunities that are going to be presented. And the opportunities, trust me, are coming very quickly, and there will be opportunities for clinicians in this arena. So we focus quite a bit on that side of things.
Mate, speaking of future of footwear, I mean, Nike, they seem to be pretty heavily involved in, obviously in one of the most recent human achievements, the sub-2 marathon, and, quite a few of the attempts before that. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so the 6 fastest times in the last six efforts in either a Vaporfly 4% next percent, or of course Elliot Kipchoge's brilliant run in Vienna a couple of weekends ago in what is being called the Alpha Fly. I sat there glued to my screen cam watching this and thinking, well, this is an incredible thing I'm watching here. In fact, the last time I saw something that impressed me so much was when Ben Johnson won the 100 meters at the Olympics, and then proceeded to get kicked out because he was caught doping. But I still watch that run. And just think that is one of the best things I've ever seen in sport, just the way he ran that race. So, the big discussion with Kipchoge is obviously he smashed the previous world record, and this is not a world record. It's not a sanctioned event, but he went well under 2 hours for the marathon, the very first man to do that, and what a wonderful thing. I just thought the whole Ineos 159 challenge was amazing. We'll definitely be talking about this quite a bit at the Masterclass. I'll be presenting a whole heap of the most current papers, and as a group, we'll be dissecting this and discussing the ins and outs. I mean, just the attention to detail was unbelievable. They mapped the entire course, so they knew for every half meter, they knew every nuance of the course, every elevation, every dip. They knew it, and they mapped it, and they put it into a program. So just what they did was quite extraordinary. But the big question is, of course, was the Alpha Fly the ace in the hole? Was it the thing that, amongst all the other variables, was it the thing that really made that key difference to get him across the line? And no one knows the answer, but the science now that's crunching the numbers does suggest that perhaps the shoe was very important. And it then brings into this arena the question, well, was it fair? And of course, as you know, there's a lot of discussion about that right now.
Absolutely. I mean, shaving off a pretty substantial amount of time over a year worth of training, it does start to raise a few questions as to what else is involved.
Yeah, that's the issue. I mean, any time you've got something that detracts from the actual performance is something that makes me sit up and pay attention. I've had this discussion before, and previously I've been fully on the side of the athlete, saying I believe it's the athletic importance, not the shoe. But I can't ignore the numbers, and I can't ignore what I know about the performance advantage of the shoe. And I think in this case, I've reversed my opinion, and I actually think it was the shoe that made the key difference between the performances. And the biggest issue for me is, well, we've got a company like Nike who are turning over getting close to the vicinity of $40 billion a year. They have this unbelievable facility in Beaverton, Oregon, in the USA, and their biomechanics and technical research laboratories are just unbelievable. So they can do this stuff, and they're what we're seeing with the Alpha Fly. The really interesting thing is that these companies work in the future. So they're working in the year 2022 and 2023. So the Alpha Fly is already obsolete. It's already completely obsolete. You can bet that they're working on shoes that are a quantum leap on this shoe already. So this is the way we've got to think about it, and this is what we'll be talking about in the masterclass. And there are ethical issues. I mean, where do we go? Is somebody going to run a 1 hour 30 marathon? I have no idea. But as the technology advances, and as we see these very interesting things, multiple carbon plates, materials that have almost 100% energy return. I mean the Zoom foam is 89% energy return. So these are things that you've got to get your head around a little bit, and you've got to think about it. And to me personally, I'm a technophobe, so I'm a technophile. I love this stuff, and I'm very interested. But there are moral and ethical questions about it as well. And nobody wants to see the athletic performance diminished. Really, that's the key thing.
Absolutely. I mean, we never wanted to detract away from what was a remarkable feat of, human performance to do something that was previously thought impossible. But, as podiatrists, I guess we're probably especially interested in the footwear aspect of these things, and, the way that it impacts and whether it is fair, whether it's not.
Yeah. And it's not just running, I mean, I'm working in a space where we're looking at netball in particular, and it makes no sense at all for netballers to be wearing, essentially the same shoe, because the goal shooter's playing a completely different game to the centre, like literally a different game. They're playing a different sport. So does it make sense for those guys to be wearing the same shoe? And the answer is no. And in this day and age, we can completely customize footwear depending on where you play on the court. Or in Aussie rules, are you a full forward or are you an outside runner, outside or inside runner? They're different games. we need to consider surfaces. How do you factor in surfaces? We know in AFL that surfaces are a big part in ACL injury. Can we do something with footwear that will recognise that? And the answer is probably yes. And again, this is all stuff we'll be talking about. Really quite high level. Not actually even what ifs, because a lot of the what if is actually doable right now. And I think that's the sort of information I want to bring to the delegates who attend the masterclass.
Mate, absolutely. I mean, like I said before, I've had quite a few people that I know attend your course, and there's never been anything less than rave reviews. So, it's one that you need to be at this course. But I guess I wanted to know, how did you actually get into this? You graduate uni, do you move into general podiatry? How do you end up, teaching a class like this and being as involved as heavily as you are with footwear?
Yeah. Well, firstly, it's good to know the bribes are paying off and people are saying nice things about the masterclass. But secondly, I never really worked that much in general podiatry. So it was, the start to my career was very unusual in that I got out of uni and I went straight into private practice and worked with a guy who at that time, and as you can tell, I'm pretty grey, so it was a while ago. He was widely considered as one of the few guys who was very involved in sports medicine in Australia in podiatry. So I had a pretty good sort of apprenticeship there with him, and I went from there. I left that practice after about 18 months, and I was really lucky in that I got offered set up my own practice within what was Australia's first specialist sports medicine clinic. It was called Adelaide Sports Sciences Clinic, and it doesn't exist anymore. But it was the first clinic that really brought together sports docs, physios, orthopedic surgeons, dietitians, sports psychologists, and a podiatrist, one podiatrist. And that's really where it all started. And from there, I operated an athlete-only care practice, so I only saw athletes. And I worked with lots of sports teams. I've been to a few Olympics now. I've been to 46 countries with my profession. Had you told me that when I was emerging from university, I wouldn't have believed you. But it's been an incredible journey. And so in terms of the footwear journey, basically that started off with the local ASICS rep, and I was shooting off my mouth about how crappy football boots were, and he basically said, well, you can either put up or shut up and design a boot with me, which is what we did. And from there, it went from being a very part-time thing to being involved with the global body of ASICS. So I was working as their what's called the International Research Consultant. So I was in charge of all of their medical research programs worldwide. And so this is where it took me. It's like, even listening to me talking about it now, it's like, huh? How the hell did that happen? And it really was being in the right place at the right time and a fair bit of luck. But here I am, and I'm now, I work as a consultant to the footwear industry. I'm still intimately involved with and intimately interested in injury and sports injury and prevention. So it's not as if I've left the world of podiatry at all. But yeah, it's just been one of those things, mate, that it's been an amazing trip.
So, I mean, it certainly sounds like there was almost that serendipitous moment that you sort of fell into this, but I guess it really gives you a little bit of hope to those young podiatrists coming through now, or even those working in private practice, that, with enough hard work, they can, end up in the same sort of position where you are, or someone similar.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's, the key word here is work. So, it's like your old dad always tells you, you get nowhere unless you set your goals, and there's no such thing as luck. Basically, you make your own luck. But, I think I said to you, and maybe take one of this little discussion, that one of the things that people have to work out for themselves, that you've got to volunteer time. So if you want to get involved in sports medicine, it is just not negotiable that you have to go out and you have to go knock on doors. You have to work with junior or amateur sporting teams before you can move into the bigger leagues, for want of a better word, and you have to volunteer your time. And people think, well, I don't want to do that because I want to get paid for what I do. But maybe what they're not thinking this through too well, because you are actually being paid because you're getting taught as you go along by your peers and in a multidisciplinary environment. So you learn on the job, and I would say that if I've learned anything over the years, it has been from that sort of volunteer work and working with sporting teams, and you just get exposed to stuff that you will never get exposed to in the clinic. And it's very important if you want to become a true sports podiatrist, if you want to be well-rounded in that particular vocation. There's no way around that. You just have to do that.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, so often they're just looking at those dollars, but that experience is invaluable. How else are you going to learn these sort of things and make connections? But yeah, I guess the trouble being that so frequently people are just looking at the dollars, aren't they?
Yeah, you do, and I think people think that it's just podiatrists who get, who don't get noticed. But I worked with one of the SANFL teams here in Adelaide, so this is the level below the AFL, so it's still considered professional football. And worked with that team for probably 15 years, never got paid. But the guy who was the head medico for that team was a bloke called Dr. Brian Sando. Dr. Brian Sando just happened to be the chief medical officer for the Olympic team. And guess what? He didn't get paid either. He did it because he loved it. And he did it because we were working there. And, this is a lot of work. I was there for training twice a week. I went to every game in winter there on the field. But you better believe that guys like Brian Sando and Max Fitzner, who was the physio, they taught me a hell of a lot about sports medicine. And I never considered it anything other than a real privilege to be in that environment, really. We did eventually demand payment of at least one packet of chewing gum per game, and I think the club did relent on that. So we did eventually get paid.
Oh, geez, mate, you knew you'd made it then.
Exactly. Yeah, I knew I'd made it when I got a packet of chewy pressed into my hot little land.
Oh, mate. Look, I just got to say, I mean, Bridge the Gap boys, Josh, we're all so excited to be involved in bringing this masterclass to Brisbane for the first time, getting up here on the 15th of February. It's a course that people will not want to miss out on. I know that I'm excited for it. It's already blocked out in my calendar. So, yeah, I cannot wait. This is going to be one CPD event I will not miss.
Yeah, I think we can pretty much guarantee you a really intense, valuable day of CPD. And I want to thank you guys, Cam and also Josh, of course, for being a part of the bigger picture here. That it's always great to have somebody on the ground in the host city. So these things there's a lot of work involved in putting them together. But for those of you that are interested in coming, I can promise you that you'll come away from this and your head will be spinning to some degree, but you will be equipped at a very high level to improve your involvement with athletic footwear.
Mate, absolutely. And I mean, I believe that tickets are either about to open or they have opened, but watch this space, guys. There are going to be some very interesting things coming up in the next week or so. So do not miss out on that. We'll put that link down below this video, but make sure you're keeping a really close eye on these ticket sales.
Yeah, I think Josh has already opened up registration, so I think tickets are available. But as you say, watch this space. There's a couple of little quirky things that are going to happen over the next week or so. So keep an eye out.
Yeah, I believe that the tickets are either open or about to be open, which is very exciting. But guys, make sure that you are watching this space because there are going to be some very exciting little things happening over this next week. So do not miss out. Don't worry though, we'll post that link down below. So make sure that you check all those ticket sales out. Simon, mate, thank you so much for coming on to this video this morning. I really appreciate your time. And I am so looking forward to this course. We'll be chatting again very soon, I'm sure.
No problem at all. I've just been busting. I've been busting for a cup of coffee, not busting for a pee, but can I go and have a coffee now?
Yeah, I'll allow it.